Hey everybody, it's finally here. The first of the recreated series, the Royal Rumble 1988. I know this thing has been advertised for a while back in my Recreate WrestleMania videos. I'm still going to finish those up. I'm still going to do the Who Made More. I'm going to finish that up later on in the year as Comic Con's coming up around the corner, so it'll be interesting to see what gets potentially teased for next year's drop or for the end of this year's drop. But without further ado, it's time to see if we can recreate the Royal Rumble 1988. Now, of course, it's a new series, so it's new rules. I'm eliminating the arena venue, the attendance, the location. That stuff's already done on a lot of reviews of the actual pay-per-views. I'm adding the entire Royal Rumble roster list in each video. So fair warning, it's going to be a little longer than my WrestleMania series. I'm, of course, going to do the stats at the end, as well as the thank you page. Again, not all the images are going to be present on the wrestlers. When you type into Google and type in like Royal Rumble 1988 Rumble match photos, you don't get very many. So for the most part, I looked for the ones that had the most amount of people in there, so we can kind of compare the attire accuracy, and then of course the attire accuracy. Unlike WrestleMania attires usually that are designed or made in figure form specifically to a T to try to like convey that moment. The Rumble and other pay-per-views, not so much. People might wear a one-off attire at a Royal Rumble match if they're only in it for like 30 seconds. So, given that, if it's pretty close to being accurate, like for instance, like Ron Bass, the attire is pretty much there. There might have been some decal missing with the Jack Pacific figure. Of course, he had a short, he had almost a shaved head by then. So I'm still going to count that as, close enough because it was black boots, it was black trunks. So it won't be 100%, but it's very close. Like for instance, the Killer Bees might have had some weird boot color or boot design change compared to the LGN or the Jack Pacific versions. So I'll still count that. Also, I will be comparing LGN, Mattel, and Jakks. I was going to do Hasbro, but then I realized too that they didn't have a license back then, so chances are they didn't have any of those guys to begin with. Let's begin. So right off the bat, we start out with not an accurate match depiction. As you can see here, I got Rick Rude versus Ricky Steamboat. Rude's in a red and black attire, which he's never been made in any form. We did get the Coliseum collection recently, the Rick Rude. Still hoping there's a Ricky Steamboat Ultimate Edition coming out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a big fan of the Ultimate Collection. I'm all on buying the Coliseum collection figures all the time. So basically, since you didn't have any of the proper attire, I mean, there's a Ricky Steamboat that has white, but it's not as 100% accurate. It's still got white boots underneath, not black. And then you've got LGN Steamboat as well. I just kind of went with two versions. That would be great for recreating the match. It won't be 100% accurate, which is why the X is represented there. So off to a great start with not even able to recreate the first opening match of the Royal Rumble 1988. And then the image is not broken. There is no figures. There's no figures of any four of them. There's not even women's WF Tag Team Championships. They do similarly look like an older belt that I've seen like in like Mexico wrestling figures, like Dos Caros or some of those older ones. It looks pretty similar to this. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't just take this belt and just like redesign a little bit and say, oh, it's women's tag belts. Back then, that was kind of the thing. They didn't really promote new belts all the time. Of course, these belts really had a very limited run. The Jumping Bomb Angels were the champions. I think they did beat the Glamour Girls. Back when women's wrestling was really not really a thing on a grand scheme that is nowadays. So, to my knowledge, I have never seen any action figures. I did kind of look through the Japan figures a little bit, but I didn't find anybody by those names. I'm not saying they may not be out there. I couldn't find anything on any of them. So that match is completely in the void, if you will. Then it's the first Royal Rumble match, and this only had 20 people. Again, this is what I'm talking about. Like I found photos that represented them. Don Morocco's in the back there in blue trunks, so I think I did accurately put him as depicted correctly. But let's find out if we can recreate the first ever Royal Rumble. So entry number 1, Bret Hart. Now there are way more detailed Bret Harts, way more stylized Bret Harts, but if you want an authentic, accurate Bret Hart, you'd have to go with this basic Mattel from early waves back in the day. That is literally Royal Rumble 1988 Bret Hart to a T. Then second entry was Tito. Now this does depict his attire from that Rumble. However, a better version would probably be the Mattel version if you wanted to do like poses, because this is very limited on what you can do. You could pose him around. The only difference is he had white wrist tape. They decided to go with the red. He had white boots. They went white boots with red lacing. But he was pretty much an all white on that Rumble. Third entry, Butch Reed. No Jax, no Mattel, no LJN. We did get him Galoob though. Butch Reed is only a one-time figure. Hopefully we'll see some in the future. But it's from his Doom days, so don't expect to recreate him in his singles WWF run or whatever with the yellow. I think he had like yellow attire back in the day, maybe like blue knee patch, something like that. But which is unfortunate because I feel like, I know Butch Reed was supposed to be Intercontinental Champion. Apparently he no-showed the event and left. I always felt like he was kind of a nice little mid-card talent back then, and it'd be cool to see him get a Mattel figure. I'm not expecting Ultimate, but a Mattel Elite would be nice, or even a Power Town. I didn't add Power Towns yet because we only have 6 of those right now, but it'd be cool to see a Butch Reed get added in there somewhere, maybe with Farouk as a Doom 2-pack, although I'd prefer his singles run more than anything because I already have a Farouk in Acolyte attire. So Jim Neidhart, close, but he was in all pink just like Bret. They haven't made one like that. At least I didn't see one. There might have been one in the Jax. I couldn't find a good photo of it. So, actually looking back, I think there was one in that's all pink, but I don't think it was quite accurate. I should have probably counted that as accurate looking back now. When I typed in Jim Neidhart, Royal Rumble 1988, I went through all his figures. But I couldn't find it. I swear there's a 2-pack out there with Jimmy Hart or something like that. But if you don't want to go that expensive route, this one just works just as well. Again, though, it probably wouldn't have been 100% accurate, the attire. Jake the Snake Roberts. He had like a bluish color on, and when I watched that Royal Rumble, it kind of looked like the WrestleMania, I want to say 7 against Big John, or against Andre with Big John Studd as the special guest referee. That may have been 7 or may have been 6. I'm trying to think back. But it's not quite there. There was like also another teal color that was kind of there. What I couldn't find an accurate picture nor an accurate figure, though. I just went with the best option as far as playability, posability. You gotta go with the Ultimate Edition. But even then, I don't think it would have been 100% accurate. Now, Harley Race, take your pick. Whether you're a Jax or a Mattel guy, you got Harley Race right there. Both those represent exactly what he was wearing in the Royal Rumble of 1988. So great choice right there. Can't go wrong with either one of them. You could just do the LJN, but he had the coat on as well. But I went with the ones that were posable again. Obviously more posable than this one. Then Jim Brunzell. Now this is what I'm talking about. Like you can see there's boot differentiation a little bit. Obviously color differentiation, but I'm not going to count that. The Bees didn't exactly have a bunch of different attires. They might have changed their boots here and there, I think it was, but pretty accurate. Then, number 8 doesn't come out. We have no Sam Houston. Even when I typed in Sam Houston action figure, all I got was pictures of old Civil War or military personnel by the name of Sam Houston. At least I think that's what it was. It might have been a ranger of some sort. Point is, no Sam Houston figures. Maybe Power Town in the future. I know that they released a really deep cut roster list in the past of like who they had signed, like Moondog Bashan and all these really older guys. Like I think even Ed Strangler Lewis might have been even in that list. Maybe a Sam Houston in the future. This line really continues to grow, and they need people. I know they just did a missing link. I don't expect him to be a fully articulated figure. Maybe like a missing link kind of deal, but we'll see what the future holds. Who knows? Danny Davis, Mattel has one and Jax made one, pretty much the same referee attire. He did wrestle in a white and black, kind of like, not yoga pants, what were they, spandex kind of attire with like a white shirt. So nowhere to be found. No one's made one of that yet. May they? I don't know. I mean, they just recently did a Build-A-Figure Virgil, so who knows? Boris Zhukov. He has a figure. It does not depict exactly the look he had, but there's no Mattel. It's not Jax. It is literally from the original 1985 AWA Remco days. I thought about picking these up for the heck of it for my display shelf. However, the ones I only collect that would not have figures in other forms, he's super expensive. Like, I just can't justify going that much. I know that, the Doug Summers and Playboy Buddy Rose can go for a pretty penny as well. But yeah, so you can find them out there if you got the money to spend. But maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll get one in the future. I know that there's rumors of Ivan and Nikita Koloff in Power Town. It's rumored, nothing official. And hopefully we'll find out in the next video if things have changed. I will be adding those in if those become a valuable option as well. Don MURACO, like I said, he was in this kind of trunks. The boots might not have been as 100% accurate from the photos. I couldn't tell too well. But, I mean, that's pretty close. And I just realized I made a goof on this. I meant to put that as a green check. So, sorry. Doing this video, like I said, took a little bit. I've had to come back to it a few times here and there. I'm recording all in one setting, so it won't necessarily askew the record because it's already clear we're already missing a superstar to this thing. So it's not going to be able to be recreated. Nikolai Volkov. Now, a Jax and a Mattel, and I think even an LJN. Pretty much same thing. You gotta love those 80s wrestlers that didn't let us spend a lot of money on different attires. Like Hogan was, genius for it's the same color scheme, whereas Randy Savage would go elaborate and have different attires, different colors. A lot of these other guys were like, look, hey, this is my boots, this is my trunks, this is my knee pads. I'm calling it a day. If they get worn out, I'll just buy another color, or buy the same thing again. So a little bit more smart with their money, I feel like. Then Jim Duggan. Now, they have the authentic attire right there. He wore black with white knee pads and white boots. We have not gotten one in this recreation style. It's always been the blue, white knee pads. Or later on, he wore the, he started wearing the singlet for the most part. But I feel like if they were going to do a Coliseum collection of Jim Duggan in the future, it's going to be this one right here. I feel like it's just going to be that Wrestling Superstars 89 look. Because they want to recapture those in the new Ultimate style. And I'm all for Jim Duggan, the first ever Royal Rumble winner. We need that attire. For those who have the Rumble shelves, the iconic looks. Yes, he was more iconic in the blue as time went on. But I think the black and the white boots was still pretty cool too. So we can't wait to find out. I mean, they might change it. They might say, okay, here is Jim Duggan Ultimate one day, but we're going to go with the blue because it's more iconic. We'll wait to find out. Ron Bass, see, this is what I'm talking about. So he had the boots, he had, like I said, he may even have the shoehorn on the back. I couldn't find a back photo or anything like that, but I know he had shorter hair. He had maybe lost a match to Beefcake recently, and they shaved his head. But there's Ron Bass. No Mattel yet, only a Jax. Then Brian Blair. I couldn't find a mock photo of him in the LJN style. It'd be kind of cool to see the Killer Bees in like an ultimate tag team deal. Obviously, I don't see that being in the collection line. It's going to be more like one-off type people. I mean, they might do tag teams in the future. I just don't see them going for these guys. But a Mattel tag team would be kind of cool, these two. I'd buy it. Hillbilly Jim, there is an LJN. He had like a red undershirt underneath. From what I saw in the photos, it was just overalls. So I went with the Mattel. Super expensive, super hard to find, complete. Legends 4 Hillbilly Jim. And of course you have a jacked one. You also have a deluxe version too, so I mean, take your pick on Hillbilly Jim. It is interesting because he doesn't get too many releases, and the ones he does get, they're all the same, but at the same time, they're getting harder and harder to find. I know that you can probably find the deluxe, the jacks, a lot cheaper than finding the Mattel one. I have one of those. Tell you right now, the body underneath makes great for like a ripped up young Sid Vicious, or I think I even used one to have someone build me a custom Mike Knox. So back when they were cheaper. Nowadays, I would not dare do that to the figure. Dino Bravo. He wore like a black and red boot combination. He's not Mattel. He's not LJN. He's not Jakks. He is Heels and Faces from a independent company that only recently decided to come out with him. It'd be cool if they did actually make it a more articulated figure. I mean, he can move his arms up and down. I usually don't collect stuff unless you have at least 5 points of articulation, so I can go bone crunching action days. But the statue figures, LGNs, I don't collect it because I didn't grow up with that. So it does exist out there, but man, it's gonna look weird if you're doing a recreated figure rumble and he comes down the hopping down to the ring at like 3 feet, 3 inches tall compared to everybody else. But if you wanted to recreate it, it would look weird. Like I said, you can't recreate this pay-per-view to begin with because Sam Houston's not there. Number 18 was the Ultimate Warrior, and he had like a yellow tire on. I could have swore they had a figure made of that version, but I couldn't really find it, so I found like most generic looking attire I could find, as far as like no painted on warrior symbol, no real detail to the tights. There might be like a warrior emblem on the back of the trunks. Funnily enough, he wasn't being pushed yet. Like he would get pushed later on that year during SummerSlam, but right then and there, he was just filling the numbers. I don't think he made down to the final 4. He was actually limited, I think, like to no fan disapproval. I think by Ron Bass. Then you got One Man Gang. We almost got him in a Mattel. We did get his Akeem version, but that's not the same. Yes, LJN spot on. The jacket obviously throws a little bit off. That's just entrance attire. If you wanted a spot on one, you gotta go with the Jack specific One Man Gang. Not too hard to acquire these figures. Obviously, if you want to try to get the prototypes that keep popping up here and there of Mattel's One Man Gang unfinished, they're pretty pricey. So I'd go with the Jack specific. You can probably get like $30-40 loose. Mock, you're gonna get more. Obviously, you're gonna cost more. And then ultimately, number 20 was the Junkyard Dog, and you've got 2 great renditions. Obviously, the Elite have updated the arm style, so this is the older style version. They did bring out Junkyard in blue and red attire in a later Legends line, but still with the old articulation arm style. So he's due for the updated, longer, double-jointed elbows, or he's even due for an Ultimate. I feel like his figure, his LJM would be like a reddish color, so you wouldn't get this attire probably. Although they could just go, hey, this is the most iconic looking one. This is the most detailed looking one. I'd prefer this one over the red or over the blue attire ones, because this one was at the he wore this in '88. And then of course you've got 2 different likes here. This one comes with a chain, more articulated was this one obviously. The Jax is a nice little alternative to it. And then of course they also would do a red Junkyard where he's more bulkier before the crack pipe got a hold of him. Which, if you watch Dark Side of the Ring recently, you find out was really, really a tragic story. I mean, the guy was huge, and the pressure got to him. But the winner of the Royal Rumble 1988, of course, was Hacksaw Jig Duggan. I said that earlier. He would last eliminate One Man Gang and be in the history books as the first ever Royal Rumble winner. And then the main event of the Royal Rumble was actually not even the Royal Rumble itself. It was, they were just testing this thing out. It was still kind of, is this going to work? Is this concept going to take off? And it did, but it would be a little bit before it got really mainstream. So they decided to put the Islanders and the Young Stallions in a 2 out of 3 falls match. And Heels and Faces again came through with a Paul Roma. I don't think it's been released yet. It may have been. I don't know. At least I don't collect these kind of lines. Obviously, I couldn't just find a photo of him by himself with the figure. Despite how much I tried, I kept finding Hercules, which these would be awesome in a Power Town or a Mattel. Obviously, Jax is no longer a thing anymore. They're not into the wrestling game. I don't see Jazzwares going after these guys. They're more focused just on the AEW line. And then, of course, though, his partner was Jim Powers. Couldn't find a Jim Powers. I thought there was a Jim Powers WCW Glob figure, but when I typed in Jim Powers wrestling figures, I couldn't find anything. Um, Not so I'm trying to think if it was him or there's somebody in WCW that was like oh, that was Tom Zink. So see, Tom Zink was in WCW. Jim Powers, there was no figure. I think this might be a picture of Powers. And then of course over here you have Haku. Now of course you can get a better version of Haku if you're willing to shell out $200, $300 more if it's mock. Um, oh, what happened there? Shoot. Sorry, I hit the thing by mistake. But anyway, no, you cannot recreate this. 7 superstars are missing from this 1988 Rumble show, and 1 from the Rumble match itself. So, with that being said, 76% complete and 95% complete in a Rumble match. Now, accurate Rumble match is only 55%. Again, I can probably bump that up to 60 because I messed up on the Jim Neidhart figure, or the Don Morocco, excuse me. But the whole show, no, nothing is accurate. Even the Rumble would not be accurate. And this is probably going to be a pretty common theme that you're going to see in all these videos is we're not going to probably find 100% Rumble accuracy. I don't think we found a WrestleMania that's even 100% yet. However, we did find some complete WrestleManias, at least as far as recreating it in just any figure form. Now, what's interesting is Jax actually took the lead in this one, and LJN was right behind in second. Mattel took the lowest so far. LJN had 53% of this roster. There's 30 people that compete on the show. They had 53%. Jax had 63%. Mattel had 46%. So it's interesting that in 10 years with Jax, they were able to, do a pretty good amount of the people in this first Rumble. Mattel, in the same time they've had the license, now over almost 14 years at the end of this year, and they're still down a little bit as far as they got no Ron Bass, they got no Killer Bees. Nobody has Sam Houston. If one of them was a pop-up Sam Houston, that'd be a huge thing. But again, who was Sam Houston? I vaguely remember him. He definitely made up the numbers. I think if I remember correctly, he was part of Jake Roberts' family. If I remember, he was Sam Houston. It was something Rockin' Robin, and then Jake the Snake, and they were like, siblings and whatnot. Again, Dark Side episode of Jake or Grizzly Smith, I think it was, that depicted that. So maybe in the future we get him for the heck of it. Now I just want to thank you all for watching. Please feel free to subscribe. It's going to cost you nothing. I'm not trying to get a Patreon. I'm not trying to, if I can get people to subscribe. Now I got 20 now subscribers. I think I started this with like 2. So, it's not my lifeblood. It's not like I need this to survive. I'm not trying to do this full time. This is a hobby of mine that I'm just doing for fun. Now, of course, this series does take some time to produce. It is longer than the shorter versions. But the next one will be Rumble 1989. Now, of course, all images I used were, of Google searching and whatnot, and figure searching. It was just for attire accuracy. So I'm not trying to steal anybody's stuff. I know I saw some wrestling fig watermarks on some photos. I just opted not to get those ones. But feel free to check back for other videos. And also, I've figured out how to unlock the comment section. I've had some people, give me some thumbs up on stuff. If you want to see another pay-per-view and see if it can be recreated, it doesn't have to necessarily just be the Rumbles or WrestleManias. It can be SummerSlam, Survivor Series. It can be a one-off type thing. I'll have no problem looking into it. And then if you really want me to, at the end of these videos, let me know. I will gladly repost all the photos of all the figures on a last page and a little small tidbit, so you can kind of see just how ridiculous that Rumble would look in figure form if you only had certain people from certain toy lines. Again, I want to thank you for this, for allowing me to do this. Hopefully you enjoy watching it. I've seen, I got 20 subscribers now. We'll be doing other videos, of course, as time goes on. The next time we do this series is going to be a little bit because they take the time to produce. So, and I don't have all the bells and whistles. I stopped doing the music because half my videos were censored because of the music. So it's pretty generic. Sorry, I'm not the greatest in this department. But see you next time.